General Th spoke with determination. Then, if we cannot destroy them from the skies, will we have to land and disable each one of those points like simple demolition brigades?
It is the most efficient solution to our current frustration, General, replied Zarkin with cold logic. The objective is to eliminate the 1,200 primary counter-frequency nodes identified worldwide, along with their military defenses, which, though primitive, could prove troublesome if not neutralized. Emperor XYLR turned to them, his voice resonating with unshakable authority.
Then so be it. We will not be halted by an insubordinate planet. Deploying an assault force for a mission of focused cleansing is an aberration to our principles of efficiency, but the resource is vital. The static of this world will be silenced. His gaze settled on the projection of Earth. Admiral Vale. General Th. Lord Scientist Zarkin. The Emperor's voice rose, icy and absolute. Prepare the descent units. The time of harvesting has come, even if the method must be more personal. Prepare to strike. The echo of the order spread across the bridge, followed by the sound of automatic confirmations from the KR-TAC systems. The immense fleet in orbit began its slow, methodical reorganization. Below, on Earth, humanity's clock ticked down its last moments of peace. Chapter 15, The Last Card. Location, Joint South American Command Center, Underground Complex No. 7, Buenos Aires, Argentina. Time, minutes after the second failure of the invaders. Late 21st century. The atmosphere in the Buenos Aires command room was one of feverish concentration. The initial astonishment at the invaders' failure had given way to cold determination. The unknown fleet remained in orbit, a latent threat that could materialize into a ground assault at any moment. The world leaders had gathered once again virtually, this time with the harsh reality of their limited options. We understand their logic, began Argentine President Solis. They cannot extract the energy of our planet remotely, nor can they cleanse us with their usual methods. But now they seek to silence our interference by deactivating the main nodes of our stabilization network. This means a direct assault on the surface. General Vance nodded from Washington. Our early warning systems show that they are reconfiguring their units. The landing is imminent. The question is, how do we respond? Our advantage lies in the peculiarity of our planetary defense technology. But that defense is passive. We need an active military plan. Despite not using it, we still have nuclear weaponry, said General Kim Kolsu from North Korea. Missiles with fusion warheads. Could our projectiles, or the shockwaves, affect their ships in orbit or their landing units? President Li Na, from Beijing, answered as the glow of alien energy analysis screens lit her face. We've studied this. Our nuclear warheads are designed for detonations that generate massive shockwaves and electromagnetic pulses. But the very geoenergetic stabilization network of Earth that frustrates their weapons also works both ways. Any large-scale nuclear explosion detonated within or near our atmosphere would generate such massive distortion in Earth's own energy field that our own dampening systems, designed to disperse that energy, would render it ineffective against them. Our medicine to prevent our own self-destruction ends up neutralizing our ability to strike them with the strongest weapon we possess, at least here, added Marshal Kuznetsov from Moscow with resignation. The energy would be so widely dissipated by the network that it would not cause significant damage to their advanced ships. It is a double-edged sword that, ironically, makes us more vulnerable to them in the grand scheme of things. President of Mexico Roberto Fuentes rubbed his temples. So nuclear weapons are completely useless? For an effective direct strike from our current position, yes, Li Na replied grimly. Theoretically, a nuclear detonation in deep space, far from the influence of our planetary dampening system, would retain all its power. However, our weapons lack both the speed and maneuverability to reach their ships. They would be detected and destroyed long before coming close enough to inflict damage. If they were to drift millions of kilometers away and remain still, perhaps. But they will not. Then our missiles are useless? What about our fighters, our tanks, our ground troops? How do we fight a force that has mastered interstellar travel? Asked Lady Finch. We fight meter by meter, answered General Sharma from India, his voice firm despite the desperation. Their landing craft, while stealthy, are not indestructible. Our conventional anti-air defenses are operational. Our tanks, our artillery, our infantry. If they descend to our level, we can face them. We may not win, but we can make them pay dearly for every victory. Vance activated projections of global defenses. Our surveillance satellites show the fleet's reconfiguration. They are preparing what appear to be descent units. The objective is clear: the main nodes of our stabilization network. We need to fortify every one of those points. Deploy our best units around them. Every counter-frequency pumping station, every geoseismic node hub, every underground control center must be turned into a fortress. President Maxwell of the United States, his face marked by strain but his voice clear and commanding, spoke next. I understand the gravity of the situation and the futility of certain strategies. My primary concern now is the immediate and absolute protection of the key sites General Vance has identified. These nodes are not just military targets, they are the very key to our survival, the reason we are still here. U.S. forces have direct orders to secure these facilities with the highest priority our nation can muster. There will be no evacuation of military personnel from these zones. Every unit is prepared to defend to the last American, at any cost. Let every invader who approaches a node know they march toward their own grave. President Solis of Argentina rose from his seat. The Andes Mountains are a natural fortress for those nodes, but our neighboring countries will also aid in the military defense. Brazil, Paraguay, Chile, Bolivia, Uruguay, and Peru will stand with us to protect them. We cannot stop them in space. We cannot use our most powerful weapons in this environment. But we can make Earth a living hell for them. If they come for the energy of our planet, they will have to rip it from our hands. And it will cost them more than they ever imagined. The world leaders nodded, a grim determination in their eyes. There were no illusions of total victory, only the promise of fierce resistance. Earth was about to become the final battlefield, and humanity, against all odds, was preparing to fight for every inch of its surface. Chapter 16, The Final Challenge. Location: Joint South American Command Center, Underground Complex No. 7, Buenos Aires, Argentina. Time: minutes before the beginning of the KRTAC assault. The clock in the command room ticked down the last seconds before the alien landing. The screens displayed the dark shapes of the KRTAC landing pods detaching from the motherships, and imminent rain upon the planet. The air was thick with the anticipation of battle. President Solis stood, his gaze sweeping across the faces of the world leaders on the screen. The decision for one last message, one final warning, had been unanimous. It was not a plea, but a declaration. One that would be recorded in the annals of history, whatever the outcome. President Lina, President Maxwell, Marshal Kuznetsov, Solis's voice was firm. Prepare the final message. Broadcasted in a continuous loop, using every frequency and every communication method their technology can process. Let there be no doubt about humanity's will. Lina nodded, her technicians' hands flying across the consoles. The mathematical pulses are ready to encode the declaration. It will be transmitted through our long-range telescope network and every global broadcast antenna, maximizing energy. General Vance fixed his eyes on the image of the KRTAC fleet. Let them hear it, down to the last of their crew. In an instant, Earth hurled its cry into space. It was not a cry of panic, but a defiant roar. The message, encoded in a universal language of logic and numbers, was sent. To the unknown force in Earth orbit, this is a message from human civilization. Our world is not a resource to be plundered. Our existence will not be erased. You have failed in your attempts at destruction. You have failed in extraction. This planet is defended. Earth is ours. Turn back the way you came. You are not welcome. Extraction will not be permitted. Annihilation will not be permitted. Every intrusion will be met with total resistance. Every step on our soil will be contested. If you cross the atmosphere, we will attack with everything we have. Withdraw now. The message repeated, again and again, an echo of determination resonating in the void between Earth and the invading fleet. It was the final ultimatum of a species that refused to bow. Location: Command Bridge of the Supreme Battleship Star Devourer, KRTAC Vanguard Fleet. Time: seconds after the Earth transmission.
The KRTAC system voice cut through the silence on the bridge, its tone mechanical.
Incoming message from the Blue Planet. Full decoding complete.
Lord Scientist Zarkin turned to Emperor XYLAR, Admiral Vale, and General TH Rack.
It is a sequence of pulses with a clear logical structure. Our system has translated it.
The system voice resonated with the human message, cold and emotionless, yet each word carried the insolence the KRTAC perceived.
Return. Origin. Planet. No. Resource. No. Erase. Failure. Destruction. Failure. Extraction. Planet. Defended. Home. Order. Abandon. System. Withdraw. Not. Welcome. Not. Permitted. Extraction. Not. Permitted. Annihilation. Intrusion. Resistance. Total. Step. Contested. Earth. Fight. Withdrawal. Now.
A tense silence settled over the KRTAC bridge.
This was not a plea. It was a command. A tiny speck of cosmic noise daring to dictate terms to the hegemony. Emperor XYLAR studied the projection of Earth.
The light of the rising sun began to illuminate its continents, but to him, the planet was nothing but a blot of insolence. He turned to his commanders, his voice a sentence.
Their challenge has been heard. Let their words be their last. Let silence be their only reply.
The order reverberated through the KRTAC command network. The landing pods, already released, accelerated in their descent.
Assault units, proceed with landing. Silence the interference. Begin tactical annihilation. Chapter 17, The Reign of Shadows. Location: various locations on Earth. Time: immediately after Emperor XYLAR's order. The sky was torn open.
Not with the roar of engines or the blast of missiles, but with an unnatural silence that preceded terror. Small black dots, barely perceptible against the blue canvas, detached from the massive shadow of the unknown fleet covering much of the upper atmosphere. They were not standard warships, nor ballistic projectiles, they were hundreds, thousands of aerodynamic, dark objects, descending at a breakneck speed.
Their design was stealthy, almost organic, crafted to go unnoticed until the very last moment. London, United Kingdom.
The air raid sirens, once a distant drill, now wailed with deafening urgency. Defense Minister Lady Eleanor Finch, from the bunker beneath Whitehall, stared wide-eyed at the screens.
Multiple contacts on the Thames. In the city center. They're not bombing, they're landing.
The objects crashed, but not with explosive impact. A vibrating hum resonated through the city, and where a pod had struck, now stood angular black structures rising among ruins and parks. Their hatches hissed open, and from them emerged.
The alien units were not humanoid.
Their bodies were compact and segmented, with multiple articulated limbs ending in specialized tools or weapons. Their skin, dark and chitinous, seemed to absorb the light. They moved with inhuman precision, their heads not distinct entities but the culmination of their segmented forms. Their features, almost indistinguishable from their skin, only faintly revealed the placement of their eyes absorbing light, projecting a silent watchfulness. They did not fire indiscriminately, they advanced with icy purpose.
Their target, the nodes of underground infrastructure, the energy hubs powering the planet's interference. Beijing, China. President Li now watched live images of the landings from his command center. The skies above Beijing were darkened by landing pods. Activate perimeter defenses. Pulse artillery and combat drones. Priority: protect the field compression stations. They are the invaders' main objective. The People's Liberation Army soldiers responded with iron discipline. The sky lit up with anti-air fire, tracing bright lines against the invaders' darkness. The alien units were resilient, their armor deflecting lead projectiles and low-caliber lasers. But they were not invulnerable to concentrated fire. Combat drones launched into the fray, exploding around the aliens, slowing their advance. East Asia burned. Pods rained down on hidden nodes in cities and countryside alike. Chinese defenses, reinforced by Filipino units, moved northward, struck back with force. Both South and North Korea, under simultaneous attack, also received indirect support from Filipino, Japanese, and Vietnamese naval forces operating in the Yellow Sea, keeping communication and evacuation routes open. The defense was fierce, the front held. Washington, D.C., United States. At the Pentagon, General Vance bellowed orders. Rapid response units to the landing sites. Multiple incursions reported near major energy networks on the East Coast. Open fire at will on any enemy unit attempting to breach critical facilities. The city, partially evacuated, became a battlefield. Apache attack helicopters thundered through the streets, their 30mm cannons roaring, while ground troops deployed, unleashing assault rifles and rocket launchers. The invaders retaliated with lethal precision, firing bursts of concentrated energy that melted steel and vaporized flesh. This was not a war of territorial conquest, but a relentless race to disable Earth's systems. All of Earth rose in arms. From the Andes Mountains to the Russian steppes, from the deserts of the Middle East to the Amazon jungles, humanity, though not fully grasping the true nature of its shield, fought for every inch. They did not know they were defending an energy peculiarity that had frustrated a galactic hegemony. They only knew they were fighting against total annihilation. The Reign of Shadows had become a brutal and desperate ground war. And the sky, clear for only a moment, was now a battlefield. Chapter 18, Hell on Earth. Location, multiple global battle zones. Time, hours after the beginning of the invasion. The planet, once a peaceful sanctuary under the watchful eyes of its inhabitants, had been transformed into a mosaic of battlefields. The Reign of Shadows had consolidated. And now, thousands of alien units moved with relentless purpose through cities and landscapes, ignoring everything but their target, the nodes of the Earth Stabilization Network. India was the target of multiple waves. The energy nodes located in the Himalayas and the deserts of Rajasthan were among the invaders' objectives. From Bangladesh, armored columns crossed the eastern borders. From Iran, reconnaissance aircraft and bombing squadrons assisted from the west. Even Pakistan had mobilized troops toward the northern frontier, joining efforts in defense of the shared nodes. Battles were chaotic, with simultaneous clashes in multiple cities. Beijing, China, the fight for the urban core. President Li now watched the real-time data from the Chinese command center. His eyes, despite the tension, did not blink at the torrent of information flowing in from Beijing. The intensity of the anti-aircraft fire was monumental. A furious storm of metal and energy clawing at the night sky over the capital. Hold the perimeter of compression station number 3. They must not reach it under any circumstances. In the streets of Beijing, the battle was a deafening cacophony. Chinese soldiers, equipped with light exoskeletons that enhanced their strength and speed, and armed with pulse rifles firing incandescent bursts, faced the compact KR-TAC units. Each alien was a formidable opponent. Their segmented bodies and chitinous hides deflected shots as if they were mere raindrops. The PLA's armored divisions, futuristic tank formations, roared as their 150mm cannons fired. The salvos sent KR-TAC flying in organic and metallic fragments, but the resilience of the invaders was staggering. For every one that fell, 2 more seemed to emerge from the landing structures, moving with surprising agility, and firing concentrated energy bursts that incinerated vehicles and vaporized entire squads in seconds. Combat drones, once the spearhead of China's aerial defense, were being shot down en masse by the aliens. Precise energy blasts, falling like flies across the skyscrapers. The fight was not for territory, but for time. Every meter the humans held was one more minute the global defense network remained active, shielding the planet
from annihilation from space. War cries mingled with the thunder of gunfire and the hiss of alien energy.
A hellish chorus under the darkness of the invaded night.
Washington, D.C., United States, the fall of the monuments.
Smoke rose over the National Mall, obscuring monuments that once symbolized the strength of a nation. U.S. forces, led by Marines and Rangers, fought a desperate battle, street by street, monument by monument.
The KRTAC advanced relentlessly toward the underground counter-frequency control facilities, ignoring any attacks that did not directly hinder their path.
Support fire at the Lincoln Memorial. Alien threat advancing.
General Vance's tense voice echoed through the calms. The Pentagon, the military heart of the nation, felt the tremors of each explosion. The latest generation Abrams tanks fired their 120mm cannons, shattering KRTAC units into chitinous fragments and splashes of dark matter. But more and more units emerged from the craters left by landing pods,
as if the Earth itself were spewing them out.
Assault rifles, designed to tear down fortifications, thundered continuously, piercing alien armor only at its weak points. The KRTAC retaliated with particle bursts that melted concrete, blew apart armored vehicles, and disintegrated soldiers in an instant, leaving only charred silhouettes on the ground. The fight was brutal, without quarter. Soldiers died for a cause they barely understood, driven by the fury of seeing their homeland defiled, their symbols of freedom trampled by a force that knew no mercy.